Back here on SportsLine, and our phone lines are open 737-7767. If you want to talk about anything tonight, open phone lines the rest of the way to dissect some sports of your choosing. But right now, let's talk a little bit more about the Titans and the loss to the Bengals on Sunday over at Nissan Stadium. Keith Bullock joined us, John Burton and myself on the local power companies of Middle Tennessee Sunday Sports Central to get his reaction to a game that was a rematch from the playoffs last January. Bengals won that game. They come in and they win this game as well. And it was a weird feeling to me. And we talked a little bit about this last night. I expected there to be more fervor in the crowd on Sunday. I expected it to be more hostile, more angry because of what happened last year. The Titans had a legitimate shot a year ago to go to the Super Bowl as the #1 seed in the AFC. A win against the Bengals would have given them the AFC Championship at home for the first time ever. And the Bengals came in and won. I just expected Sunday's atmosphere to be through the roof, figuratively, to be ready for that team, to get payback, so to speak. And the Titans downplayed it all week, and it felt like they downplayed it in the game and that the fans followed suit. Meanwhile, Cincinnati took slights from last year's game. The fact that they gave up 9 sacks in the playoff game, they were determined to be better than that. The fact that everybody talked about how much more physical the Titans were in the trenches, they were determined to be a physical team in the trenches, and they were. And they come in and they win another game, almost by the same score. I was disappointed by that fact. I don't know if it means anything long-term. It's just another loss against a good team, and the Titans are still destined to go to the playoffs. But the atmosphere was interesting to me on Sunday, and we talked about what happened in the game and how it played out afterwards with Keith Bullock. Guys, the Bengals won that playoff game last January 19-16. Today, the final score 20-16. Back in January, all the talk was about how Ryan Tannehill's 3 interceptions cost them a chance at the Super Bowl. There was nothing that glaring today, Keith. How much of a concern is that? Essentially, the Titans played their game and still lost.
Yeah, they played the game, nothing too glaring. You know, they weren't as sharp as they typically are in the red zone. They were without Danico Autry. That hurt the defense a little bit. I just think that, you know, the energy level that the team maybe was going into this game with seemed a little bit down for a team that came in and beat you and essentially knocked you out of the playoffs last year. You know, but other than that, I think the Titans are still in good shape where they are. Definitely still one of the top teams in the NFL.
I did notice that not a lot of buzz in the stadium today. And defensively, Keith, it looked like they were missing Danico Autry, as you said. Bengals rushing for over 100 yards. They made some critical third downs as well. And, of course, that critical special teams penalty on Kevin Strong.
Yeah, anytime you don't have a veteran and a ball player like Danico Autry in the lineup, it's going to be stressful, especially for Jeffrey Simmons that's nursing that ankle. Also, you're putting new guys in there like Kevin Strong, who isn't getting too many snaps, and the run defense was kind of putting them in positions where you saw Bengals were getting one-on-one matchups down the field, and without Jamar Chase was able to still have a pretty efficient passing day with T. Higgins getting out there for over 100 yards and a touchdown today.
And it gets no easier now for the Titans as they head north next week to take on the NFC's best team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, it certainly does not, as they go up to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles at noon on Sunday. This was a tough one, though. And it was tough because last year in the playoffs, when the Titans lost, there was a clear reason why. And we talked about it all offseason. So did everyone else. Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions in that game. If he doesn't do that, Titans probably win. And who knows what happens after that. There's a clear reason why they lost. On Sunday, it wasn't as clear. There were no turnovers in the game on either side. Titans had almost as many yards as the Bengals did. Now, they didn't run the ball very effectively, and that is a concern, as we've hit on earlier. They didn't end up scoring in the red zone, touchdowns, which is a key for this team. They were nearly 75% coming in, just behind the Bengals, actually, just behind the Bengals, for the top spot in the entire NFL in terms of touchdowns scored in red zone trips. The Titans went 0 for 3 on Sunday. And then defensively, last year, 9 sacks in the playoffs. They had 1 Sunday. Turnovers forced, this team's pretty good at nothing. So those are reasons, those are keys that they set out to do this week that they didn't do a very good job of. But to me, it was a less glaring defeat. It was a game in which the Bengals essentially out-Titans the Titans. And that, to me, is a different level of concern. Because the Tannehill game in the playoffs last year, that almost felt more fluky. Just one of those games where, oh man, the quarterback has a bad day. What do? That's how you lose. Sunday felt like Cincinnati came in here and beat the Titans at their own game on their home field. And that, to me, is a little bit more concerning. The way it went down Sunday compared to what we saw back in January. John Burton has more on this game and the result and the Titans' reaction to it in this post-game report.
You can pretty much blame all 3 phases for the Titans' loss to the Bengals on Sunday. The offense went 0 for 3 in the red zone, and Derrick Henry in the running game managed a mere 63 yards.
We knew they were going to be physical and big up front and one-up us a lot, put a bunch of guys on the line of scrimmage, and that's what they did. I don't think that was a surprise to anybody.
They executed, we didn't. We kept it playing, came in and executed, and we didn't do our job in the run game.
Meanwhile, the defense failed to generate much pressure on Joe Burrow, and the unit failed to get a turnover and allowed Cincinnati to rush for over 100 yards on the ground.
That's not our standard. We have to do better, come in and take the coaching, get the correction and see why we gave up the rushing yards. Half of the rushing yards, I think, came from the quarterback, getting outside of the pocket.
I mean, we got to get out the field. But we get out the field, they don't get to the they don't make that field goal at the end. We get out the field, they probably don't put as many points on the board. So, you got to get out the field on 3rd down, just be better.
Then there was the special teams. Caleb Shudak missed a makeable field goal, and Kevin Strong's personal foul penalty on a field goal attempt late in the 4th allowed the Bengals to keep the ball and run out the clock.
I thought I did my job. I didn't know I did nothing wrong. I came on the sideline. They say that I guess I hit the snapper in the head or whatever, but I just did what I was supposed to do.
It was a quick replay. Well, if we hit him in the head or not, I mean, they felt like we did.
Gives up just 20 points to an offense as explosive as the Bengals have. But one of the keys coming in for the Titans was to eliminate the X plays, and the Bengals get 5 explosive plays in the passing game today.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you like to eliminate, but the Bengals had the Titans off balance on defense. Samaje Perine did a great job of getting some good runs in that passing game today, as well as, converting first downs with the run to set up those one-on-one matchups on the outside that ended up in those big plays downfield. So, it's tough for a defense to really get settled when the offense can, keep you unbalanced with the run and pass.
Meanwhile, the Titans offense always starts with the run, then they go to the pass. King Henry, though, when he's not going, it gets much more difficult, and he only had 38 yards on 17 carries today.
Well, we know the Titans' offensive line anchor is Ben Jones, and Ben Jones has been out the last couple of weeks. And DJ Reader for the Bengals, their nose guard, he had a big day today, pushing that line back. And look, Brewer did as much as he could. He's outweighed by at least 30, 40 pounds, and that's going to be a tough task. And you're not going to be able to get the run going if the defensive line is 2 yards in the backfield to start.
Bengals run defense was bad with Reader out. They've been much better with him in there. And we touched on this early on. The Titans have been one of the best red zone teams in the league under Mike Vrabel, but they go 0 for 3 today in the red zone, and it certainly cost them.
Yeah, Steve, look, you're going to have games like that. It's unfortunate they weren't able to get points like they normally do, but you know, you're going to have games. They had that 10 days off, so they might have to go back and fine-tune. And it's unfortunate that, you know, something else that took place that had nothing to do with offense or defense, which was the special teams play that really negated, you know, giving the offense an extra opportunity to go out there and see what could have been.
Yeah, and if there was one bright spot, it was the emergence of that passing game with Ryan Tannehill throwing for 291 yards once again on Sunday.